Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome to The Last Lap, and in today's video we are going to be going over our playoff predictions for the NASCAR Cup Series, so make sure you guys stay tuned. We're going to show both of our brackets, but quickly before we hop into the video, just wanted to remind you guys to hit that like button and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it if you did that. You guys have been killing it as far as our videos lately. We've been getting a lot of views and all that stuff, so thank you guys so much for that. We appreciate it. But let's go ahead and hop into the video. Matthew, my friend and co-host, is joining me, and I was gonna look at all of our, like preseason predictions and stuff. I know we got a few playoff drivers wrong, including Chase Elliott, but who would have expected him to have a leg injury and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, Matthew, how are you feeling as we are about to step into the postseason?
Well, it is officially playoff time, and this is normally the most stressful 10 weeks of every NASCAR fan's life here because every race matters. You cannot make one mistake or you're pretty much done. So, this is going to be one interesting playoffs. And as far as our preseason playoff predictions go, I was so dead wrong on Austin Cindric. I was way off. But somehow I predicted Alex Bowman would be out of the playoffs, even though injury did kind of cause that. I somehow predicted that, so that's kind of wild. So, all right, let's get right into these predictions.
All right, so we'll just go round by round, I guess. But obviously we have the 16 drivers; they will be knocked down to 12, then 8, then 4, and we will crown a champion at the end of it. So we're just gonna go round by round. First round, out of the round of 16 into the round of 12. I guess I'll just say the drivers. I'll say the drivers I have and then the drivers I don't have. So I have William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson. They're all moving on. Brad Keselowski, I have him moving on. I went down a little bit. I kind of skipped over Busher and Bush, Bell, and Chastain to kind of just examine them and come back to them. So Keselowski, Reddick, Bubba Wallace, I have him moving on. I put him on pretty early because of Kansas. Kansas is in this round. He won Kansas last year. He was strong at Kansas this year. The Toyota's really good at Kansas. So I have Bubba Wallace moving on. Chris Buescher, I have him moving on as well. Kyle Busch, I have him moving on. Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, and Joey Logano. So that means I do not have Kevin Harvick moving on. Shocker, surprisingly. Yes, I know. Just Ford and Stuart Haas, they just have not been consistent enough, in my opinion, to be able to carry on any kind of momentum going into the next round. So I have Kevin Harvick being knocked out. He's currently 4 points below the cut line. I have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. being eliminated as well. Same thing as Harvick, just JTG not consistent enough to move on, in my opinion, along with the 34 of Michael McDowell. And this might be a little bit of a shocker going out in the first round, but I have Ryan Blaney missing the next round as well. I was going back and forth between like him and Joey Logano, just because similar to Kevin Harvick, the Fords just have not been there so far this season. I figure Joey Logano, he might be better at Darlington and Bristol. Ryan Blaney, I just don't see him moving on. So those are the 4 drivers I have being eliminated after the first round. Matthew, who are your picks to be eliminated after the first round of the playoffs?
Well, my the 4 guys I have out are a little bit different than yours, which makes things interesting. Now I'm gonna start off saying the drivers I do get eliminated first, and then I'll say who makes it because I don't want to spoil it by saying who makes it. But so I got Ricky Stenhouse Jr. out for obvious reasons. JTT Doherty, I don't expect him to do much in these playoffs. I got Michael McDowell out as well, which I mean he could kind of surprise people. I mean, Front Row Motorsports has improved compared to 2021, but I just think it's still a little bit too much for the ask. Now, I got Bubba Wallace out in the first round. Here's my reason why. I know he's good at Darlington, and I know he won Kansas last year. But here's the couple things that stuck out with me why. One, he has no stage win, so he's basically 2,000 points equal. He's got no stage win, so that's gonna hurt him automatically. And second of all, he has also been well known in the past to he cannot handle the pressure sometimes. Sometimes he lets mistakes get in his head, and I'm afraid with his first time in the playoffs, he's really going to be hard on himself. And I think that's what's going to help. Well, that's not going to help him move on to the next round because he might make a mistake, and he's going to be getting down on himself, and that's how he doesn't perform the next race. So that's why I got Bo Wallace out. I mean, he could make it the next round. I could see why, but I just think with his first time in the playoffs and his history of not handling the pressure well, that's why I have him out. And now as the last guy out of the first round, this might be a little bit controversial here, but I got my reasons. I got Ross Chastain out of the first round because Trackhouse this year has been kind of disappointing. Daniel Suarez didn't make the playoffs. And I mean, this whole organization, a whole, just feels like Chip Ganassi racing all over again, where they just kind of there. And Ross Chastain, ever since his win at Nashville, sometimes there's just most weeks I forget he's even in the field because he's nowhere near to be found. So I just don't see the same result. I just don't see the same, momentum as Ross Chastain had last year. So I got Ross Chastain out the first round. That's my opinion. But I got Byron, Truex, Busher, Hamlin, Bush, Larson, Bell, Reddick, Keselowski, Logano, Blaney, and Harvick moving on to the second round.
All right, that's solid. I could definitely understand your reasoning for Bubba and Rosh Hassan. It's good we have a little bit of a difference of opinion just because we don't have the same exact bracket. I mean, yeah, I could go with those four that you picked. I could add Harvick to the list. I could add Bubba to the list. Blaney, Logano, Chastain, Bell even. I could throw an argument for him not making the next round. So I really feel like anybody, like if you're plus 10 and then all the way down to below the cut line, I feel like any of those guys could go in or out of the playoffs. So somebody's gonna go out that we didn't expect, and our bracket's gonna be busted right away after can or after Bristol. But it's fun. But on to the next round. So for me, the drivers that I have eliminated are going to be Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, and Brad Keselowski. And I chose a common factor for all four of these guys, realistically, and I'm looking at that final cutoff race at the Charlotte Roval. Yes, I know there is Texas, which is a mile and a half, and I feel like any of the guys that I have moving on could win that race. We have Talladega, which I understand Brad Keselowski could win that race because he's good at super speedways, and I understand that Bubba Wallace could win that race because he's good at super speedways. But I just feel like you can't count on that one single race track in that round. I feel like you have to be good at Texas and you have to be good at the Roval. Just in case you don't win Talladega, you have to be good at those tracks. And I don't see Brad Keselowski being good at the Roval. I don't see Bud Wallace being good at the Roval. Like you said, Ross Chastain just has not been consistent. And I don't see Joey Logano being good at the Roval as well. So that's kind of the common denominator that I've seen. Especially if you're going to have to beat guys like William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin at Texas. I don't see any of those guys beating them there, and then relying on Talladega as luck and not being good at the road courses. That's why I have those four guys out. So moving on to the round of 8, I have William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher. I have him moving on to the round of 8. Yes, I know the last video I just said, pump the brakes, whatever, da da da. That was as far as, like a championship threat, making it to the final 4. But I do have him moving on to the round of 8 because RFK has been strong these past few weeks, arguably the best Ford team that we have mentioned before. And then you got Talladega. He just won Daytona, so he's good at super speedways if he needs the points for that, or he could win there. And he's pretty good on the road courses as well, like the Charlotte Roval. So I have Chris Buescher moving on to the round of 8. I also have Kyle Busch moving on to the round of 8. and Christopher Bell. I was really debating. I really don't know if Christopher Bell could go this far in the playoffs, but he won the Roval last year, so that's the only thing kind of I'm clinging on to that is allowing me to let him move on to the round of 8. But honestly, I don't even know if he makes it past the round of 16 into the round of 12. I'm kind of regretting that now. I probably should have put Blaney in and had Bell out of the round of 16, but it's too late. I got to stick with what I got. But anyways, that is my round of 12 to round of 8. Matthew, who do you have moving on to the round of 8?
All right, so who is going to be knocked out after the Charlotte Roval? Well, I got Brad Keselowski out for a real obvious reason. The road courses for him this year have been awful. Awful. I mean, Brad Keselowski is literally running with the Rick Ware cars on these road courses. It's so baffling considering his teammate is like the exact opposite. He's really good on road courses. So that's why I got Brad Keselowski out, even though Talladega, we all know how the Roush cars are in super speedways. We just saw that. I just think the road course is going to kill this team. So, and I got to say the same thing for Kevin Harvick also. Literally the same exact reason. The road courses have been awful for Harvick as well. He's running with Brad most of the time in the 30s. And also the fact that SHR is not a good team right now. I think that team's just going to reach their limit in the second round in general. I also got Ryan Blaney out of the second round. And it's a similar reason to why with Ross Chastain. They're just races where he's nowhere near to be found. And Penske in general has kind of had an off year. I mean, Joe Logano did win, but it was on Super Speedway. And Ryan Blaney had a very impressive Coca-Cola 600 win, but other than that, they've been really up and down. So I got Blaney out in the second round. And who's going to be the last person that's out? I'm actually going to go with Tyler Reddick here. Now, he is very good on road courses, don't get me wrong, and he is very good at Texas because he won there last year. But there is literally the biggest con with this team right now is his pit crew. His pit crew is going to cost him one of these races. I can argue that it could cause Reg to be missed out of the first round because of this pit crew. They have been known to be absolute choke artists and absolutely just fall under the pressure, especially on the money stop. So that's why I got Reddick out the second round because of his pit crew absolutely going to screw him over. I just don't see that pit crew getting any better in the playoffs. So I got William Byron, Truex, Hamlin, Busch, Chris Buescher, Joe Logano, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell.
All right. Yeah, Tyler Reddick, I completely understand because of his pit crew. I think the only thing that really prevented me from kicking him out is Texas because he did win there last year in the number 8 car. So that's pretty much the only reason why I have him moving on because he was good there last year. But now we are moving on to the final four. Who gets eliminated, who makes the final four, and who is our champion going to be? So being knocked out of the round of 8, I have Chris Buescher. I just don't think they have enough to get to Phoenix, but there's Las Vegas a mile and a half, and there's Homestead another mile and a half, a little bit different shape. And Chris Buescher could prove me wrong. I think he could be a dark horse to make the final four if so one of these guys I have in my final four makes a mistake or crashes or has some kind of issue. So definitely don't sleep on Chris Buescher. But, going with statistics and all that stuff, I'm going to say he is knocked out. I'm going to have Tyler Reddick knocked out as well. Mainly because of Martinsville, honestly. The short track, I just don't think Tyler Reddick will be able to match up against some of these other guys at the short track of Martinsville. I also have Kyle Busch being eliminated. And I have Christopher Bell being knocked out as well. And mainly for Kyle Busch is just he hasn't been as consistent as these four guys that I have in the final four. They've just They have, the most. Well, Kyle Larson, I'm going to say he hasn't been consistent. He has not won since Martinsville and Richmond earlier this year and the All Star race. So I will give Kyle Larson, I'm hoping he turns it on in the playoffs just because he has been severely inconsistent. So Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson kind of debatable as far as consistency goes. But in my final four, I have William Byron, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., and Denny Hamlin. Byron, Truex, and Hamlin, they seem to be the three fastest cars right now and the most consistent as far as finishing goes. And then you got Byron and Truex are both tied at the top with the most playoff points. Denny Hamlin is the third seed right behind both of them. So those are the four drivers I have at Phoenix. Who do I have winning it all? Man, this is tough. But I think, like, I know what my gut wants, but I'm gonna have to go with my heart here. I'm gonna have to pick William Byron as the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion. I'm rooting for Byron. Just Hendrick guy, the one. I know Bowman hasn't won a championship, but Byron, I feel like this is his year. He has the most wins right now. I think this is his year. I'm gonna pick William Byron as the champion. Those are my final four and my championship pick. Matthew, go ahead and tell the people your final four and your champion.
Alright, who's going to get knocked down after Martinsville? Well, first of all, I got Christopher Bell because I don't. Christopher Bell, it just hasn't seen the same as last year. Now, of course, he was known last year as the most clutch Cup Series driver in the playoffs, but I don't see that happening this year. So I got Christopher Bell out. I got Joe Logano out because even though he's such an amazing talent and the defending series champion, Penske as a whole has just been kind of down this year. So I got Joe Logano out. I got Chris Buescher out, which some people are debating he could be in the championship four. But I mean, this is RFK. He's pretty much first time in the playoffs ever since Brad co-owns the team. So I feel like it's you're kind of asking this team a little bit too much. I mean, it's a great story, but I don't see that happening to me. And who's gonna be the last driver out? It pains me so much to say this, but I put Kyle Busch out at the round 8. Now, hopefully he proves me wrong because Las Vegas, right again that same car last year won the pole, and Homestead, mile and a half, which that A car has been strong at the bigger tracks, mile and a half or bigger. That has been their strong point. But Martinsville, that's all. He was horrible this spring. He was horrible. And if he doesn't win Vegas or Homestead, I they're not making it past around the 8 because Martinsville is just going to be nah. So who's going to be the championship for? It's literally the same thing. William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, and Danny Hamlin. And my champion is William Byron too. I swear, I swear, I didn't know he was going to pick the same Final Four. But the reason why I got William Byron as my 2023 Cup Series champion, because William Byron this year is having himself the best season of his career. And he has all the positive momentum right now. This team is firing on all cylinders. And all of his wins have come at different types of tracks. He won Phoenix this year, which they're going to be racing Phoenix. He won at Las Vegas for I actually won Vegas first, a mile and a half. He won Atlanta, a super speedway. He won Watkins Glen, a road course. What was the fifth one? Dang. Um, I know I'm missing the fifth one. What's the fifth one? Uh,
Darlington Throwback Weekend. How could you
oh,
forget
that's
that
right.
one?
Darlington, exactly.
In the
I
iconic 24 car, that iconic paint scheme.
I expect you to get that race version since it's Jeff Gordon, but yes, Darlington. He's won pretty much all different types of tracks with different rules packages. So I think William Byron's the best team right now. I mean, you can argue Martin Truex Jr. You can also make a case for Kyle Larson because even though he only has 2 wins, he has put himself in a spot to win most of the time this year. And there's always going to be that 1% of people saying, this is Denny Hamlin's finally, this is Denny Hamlin's year. I wouldn't bet on that because I've seen this story too many times. But yeah, my champion is going to be William Byron.
Well, would you look at that? We went through 3 different rounds. We got the same exact final four, and we have the exact same champion. So it doesn't matter how you get there; it's how you get to the finish line. But yeah, I think that's pretty much gonna wrap up this video. Unless Matthew, you have any other closing thoughts, or we'll go ahead and finish up.
Now keep in mind when we do these rankings, we're not predicting one of these guys is going to wreck or anything because literally in the first round, let's just say Denny Hamlin could wreck like twice in the first round and he'd be knocked out of the first round. We're not predicting that. We're just predicting based on how they've done all season long at different types of tracks. So we're not exactly predicting who's going to wreck. We're just predicting, how they've run all season long. But it's going to happen. There's going to be that 1 or 2 guys that get knocked out early because they had problems. So I'll be looking forward to see how messed up our bracket will be at the end of the first round.
Yeah, I kind of like almost want to contradict my round of 16 with a sticky note, like just to write something down, just for something crazy that I think's gonna happen. And it has to it goes with your first round for somebody who's getting knocked out, but I'm gonna write it on this just for my sake. But I'm gonna say that Ross Chastain does not make it out of the round of 16. I know it contradicts my bracket, but just for something kind of not like a bold prediction, but I'm just gonna say Ross Chastain gets knocked out the first round. So I'm gonna write that on here. I'll put that up at the end of the video. But yeah, I think that's pretty much gonna wrap it up. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know some of your playoff predictions down in the comment section. Let us know if you agree with some of ours, if you disagree, who you have going to the championship for, who your champion is, any big names that might get knocked out early, all of that fun stuff. We love interacting with you guys. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. Darlington, first race of the playoffs coming up this weekend. We'll do our race review for that later on. But until next time, we'll see you guys in our next video.